It's August Rosado with Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. We do want to thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon. The weekend is here. It is a new month. It is May 1st, 2020. And we want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for our Bible prophecy update as we are coming to you live from our main headquarters here in rainy, wet Lincoln, Rhode Island. We have been getting a whole lot of rain out here. Spring really hasn't sprung as of yet, but we're waiting for the warmer weather to come up. And right now, my wife is listening to the governor of Rhode Island, and she is now talking about phases in opening up our economy here. They'll be opening up parks and recreation places come this weekend. And then they're going to go into phase one of opening up restaurants and outdoor seating and other places with restrictions, of course. And so things are starting to look up and up. We've already hit our peak out here in Rhode Island, and we are beginning to flatten the curve. And so we definitely see some light at the end of the tunnel here. And we see some states now that are opening up their economy. Businesses are opening up slowly and things of that sort. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like I said, I've been calling this, that I believe that by mid-May, we'll see some normalcy here. We'll see life being slowly restored back to order. Barbershops, restaurants, other places are going to open up slowly. Again, there's got to be some restrictions in place, and I can totally understand that, because what we do not want is to see a reoccurrence of this virus. I mean, people are still being infected, and people are still dying in this country over this virus. And so, but we are hitting the peak. We're beginning to flatten the curve. We do see some light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully by mid-May, we'll see the businesses opening up slowly. They're already calling for gatherings of 10 people or less, not big crowds, but 10 people or less in public places. And so we see some light here at the end of the tunnel. And that's the reason why, is because all of you have been practicing state officials' instructions of 6 feet distancing, washing your hands, wearing a mask in public. And so if we continue to do these things, then by the time June rolls around, then we're going to see normalcy back to order here. So just keep up the good work, folks. And, this virus has hit close to home with us because a pastor friend of mine who was in a wheelchair, and he's been in the nursing home for a few years now, was just recently diagnosed with COVID-19. But the thing is, he's doing very well despite all of his health problems. His son works in that same nursing home where his father is, and he just posted on Facebook that he was just diagnosed with COVID-19. But he's very young man, but he's really, really sick. This virus is it's weird. It affects people in different ways. Some people can be asymptomatic. In other words, they have the virus, but they're showing no symptoms whatsoever. So it's kind of crazy, I know, but with everybody cooperating, folks, listen, we can get through this. Okay? We're in the month of May. It's a new month. And by mid-May, we're going to see some places opening back up, barbershops and whatnot. So, just continue practicing safe social distancing. And of course, we're all going to get through this. But I see a lot of people that are in the room right now. My buddy, John Webb, and he says, ready to roll. Absolutely, John. We're ready to roll today. Thank you for being here. Kim Trainer, dear sister in the Lord, supporter of this ministry, like John Webb, a supporter of this ministry. Really do appreciate you guys. Michael Popes, as usual, like clockwork, is here in the room. Michael, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Amanda Tatro, thank you so much. I think I may have gotten a call from you, Amanda, maybe trying to figure out where we were, right? Sometimes we stop maybe a couple of minutes late. So just give, at least 2 or 3 minutes leeway before we actually come on the air. But Amanda, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support as well. And my brother from another mother, Pastor Jesus Padilla. He is there in, I think it's Mount Laurel, North Carolina. And I preach for Jesus many times at his church. Jesus is in the house with us. And Jesus, it's good to have you with us today. I hope everything is well with you and your family. Now, here's the thing, Jesus. As far as I know, I have not heard anything yet about churches. Now, if they're going to allow the gathering of 10 people, and that's what they're looking to do right now, then you will be able to have a church service with 10 or less people. No, Amanda, you have nothing to apologize for. I appreciate you trying to contact me because I know you're hungry for the word, and don't even worry about that. So I appreciate you giving me a heads up, Amanda. But back to you, Jesus. If they're going to have a service, they want it with at least 10 or less people. What they don't want to do is have large crowds of Laurel Springs. I'm sorry, I thought it was Mount Laurel. It's Laurel Springs. Okay. They don't want large crowds of people. Large crowds of people. Somebody, again, could be asymptomatic, not even know they have the virus. And all they simply need to do is just stand within inches from you, maybe 2 or 3 feet away from you. That's all it takes in order for you to catch this virus. All somebody has to do if they're asymptomatic or if they're infected is just touch you, and you'll get it within days. And so I can understand state officials and what they're saying. Right now, there's a pastor friend of mine in Worcester, Massachusetts, who had church service last Sunday, and he had a lot of people show up. Now, this was in defiance of a state order of the churches remaining closed. He had church service. Even though he sent a letter to the governor, he sent a letter to the chief of police, they still look at it as being in defiance because the law is right now you cannot have, any large gatherings, whether it's in a church or in a restaurant, or even outside in the parking lot for that matter. So churches are not the only ones that are being targeted here. Everyone today thinks it's a conspiracy by the government, this is their way of shutting all the churches down. No, it is not. Come on, folks. We are in a pandemic. People are dying. We need to smarten up here in the church. We are in a global pandemic of what they are calling the flu on steroids. It's killing people. It's killing people all over the world. Over 3 million have been affected. I think worldwide over 200-something thousand people dead. In this country, over 70,000 dead? Come on, folks. Avoid those conspiracy nut cases out there. I understand them. I wasn't on board at first with churches shutting down, but now I understand. So we need to exercise common sense here. And we need to do what the state officials are saying. And you need to practice the 6-foot distancing. And come mid-May, when they're allowing small gatherings, it's got to be 10 or less. But they're still asking to wear a mask. When they open up the restaurants, they're going to have you sitting 6 feet apart from people. Probably sitting on the outside anyway, as the weather's getting warmer. Well, trying to get warmer anyway. But what I'm hearing right now from the governor of Rhode Island is that there's going to be no summer parades this year. No big open events this year or anything of that sort. So you say, well, what about baseball? Will there be Major League Baseball this season? From what I'm seeing right now, it doesn't look promising. It doesn't look promising because these baseball stadiums hold thousands. And what they don't want to do is have a resurgence of this thing. And that it takes us back to where we were when we first started. That's what they're trying to avoid. So, yeah, exactly, Michael. There's just no time for Christian rebellion here. But let me get back to that pastor. He held a service last Sunday, and he had a lot of people there. And now he's facing fines, hefty fines, possible jail time, or both. And he's receiving death threats. Yes, death threats. And he has come under a heavy criticizing from the Christian community. And so that's where it is right now. And it's going to get worse if they find out that people that were there in that service later on contracted COVID-19. Ain't going to make things any better. So, dear brother in the Lord, I have great respect for the man. I've preached for him many times. But, folks, listen, we need to obey state officials here. And we need to practice common sense. We cannot afford to go back to where we were when this thing started at the beginning of March. If state officials see another surgence of this virus, it's going to go back to where it was before. Everything's going to get shut down, and that just might be for the remainder of the year. Churches, restaurants, whatever the case is. So please, practice common sense. Stop using this as a conspiracy by the government to shut churches down. Okay, there's just too many off-the-wall Christians out there today, and pastors for that matter. And let's all cooperate so that we can get through this and get life back to normal. So that churches can open up to normal capacity as they were before. But these things are going to take time, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to take time. And you need to cooperate here. And I think Romans chapter 13, plays into this very clearly. And so obey your state officials, obey government officials, obey federal government officials. And let's practice what they're telling us to do. And just stop listening to the crazy oddballs out there on YouTube, on Facebook, or wherever they may be. Stop listening to the prophecy conspiracists out there. Avoid those guys at all costs. Because all these people know how to do is indoctrinate fear into the people. And then they get all worked up. We just cannot allow that. Jesus said in John 14:27, peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. That's parallel with what he said in John 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. Let's take the advice of Jesus and avoid the oddball, off-the-wall prophecy conspiracists out there. Or the secular conspiracists, for that matter. And let's just look at the scriptures for their plain sense interpretation, as we're going to do on today's broadcast. And as usual, at the end of every broadcast on Friday, I always pronounce the Aaronic benediction upon you in Hebrew. I love doing that. I'm looking at it right here. I bought this in Israel. It's out of Numbers chapter 6, 24 through 26. And we'll be getting to that shortly. But as usual, I always like you to have your Bibles open, have your Bibles handy, have them ready. And we're going to be looking at, in a couple of minutes, Daniel chapter 2, verse 35. So I'm going to give you an opportunity, give you a chance to turn to Daniel chapter 2 and verse number 35, where we're going to start off. But before we do that, don't forget to visit my website at todayinbibleprophecy.org. And while you are there, I want you to sign up for our newsletters. They go out every single week. Okay? All you got to do is go to the contact August Rosado, give me your name and your email address, and you'll start receiving our newsletters. And you can navigate around the website, order my books that I've written on prophecy. I'm going to get set to write a brand new book that's going to be coming out shortly. This is going to be my 7th book that I have written. And we're going to be looking at the European Union. Actually, that's what we're going to be talking about today is the European Union, the revived Roman Empire. So we're going to be talking about the EU. We're going to be looking at the EU, its early developments in this book, and the internal turmoil that is going on right now. Now, some of these prophecy guys who discount the European Union and say the EU is not the fulfillment of the revived Roman Empire. Don't listen to these dispensationalist guys. Because look at it, the European Union's dying. Again, I'm talking about that on today's show. These guys are saying, oh, the European Union's dying. They're not making an impact. Look at Great Britain just left the European Union. It's falling apart. Read your Bible. Bible prophecy calls for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but Bible prophecy calls for that. And that is what I'm going to be talking about today. And that's going to be the new book that I will write. The European Union, the revived Roman Empire of Daniel and John in Revelation. That's going to be the subtitle. The title, the European Union, and then the subtitle, the revived Roman Empire of Daniel and John in Revelation. So look out for that book. We're working on it. Then we're going to be sending it to the publishers. And I'm hoping to get that book in your hands so that you can read it, you can study it, and teach it to your Sunday school class or preach it as a message. Go to my website, look at our bookstore, where you can order books that I've already written on prophecy, and order our Holy Land products. Speaking of the Holy Land, hopefully now, right now in Israel, they're slowly opening up shops, stores, and they're going to slowly open the malls up over there. Schools are going to slowly open up. We're hoping that by the end of May, Israel will open their borders so that they allow tourism back to the Holy Land. Right now, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and I also believe United Airlines, they're going to start resuming flights, but they're asking people to wear masks on these flights. If you don't wear a mask, you can't get on the plane. So again, we see things are slowly loosening up here. Things are slowly opening up, as long as everybody cooperates, okay? So I'm hoping, hey, Stephen Mitch Smith, good to see you, brother. I'm hoping that by the end of May, things are getting back to normal. Things are opening up. And by June 20th, we'll be on a plane to Israel. If you want to come to Israel with my wife and I, make preparations to come now. And all you got to do is contact me, and I'll give you the information. June 20th through the 30th, which will be in Israel and Jordan. North Jordan at Mount Nebo, where Moses viewed the promised land. South Jordan to Petra, where according to prophecy, the surviving Jewish remnant will be held up for the last half of the tribulation period. 2 countries for the price of one, $34.50 per person, all inclusive. So if you want to go to Israel with my wife and I, you need to make preparations now and allow me to teach you Bible prophecy on location. And of course, you know, when the churches do open up and they go back to normal capacity, I would love to come back to your church to preach on Israel, Bible prophecy, and current events. So I'm looking forward to that down the road. Okay, we'll have more to say at the end of the broadcast. But let me just post in the comment box there. Oops, this is not what I wanted to do. I don't know why I did that. Hold on a second, guys. Let me delete this right here. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to, that's why it didn't work. I didn't copy and paste. I want to give you the link to our secure PayPal site for Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. All of you that are watching right now, you've supported our ministries already. You've sent donations to our ministry, whether big or small. It all counts. And for those of you that have done that, let me just say thank you so very much. We do, man, we do appreciate it. If it wasn't for brothers and sisters like you, Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. Yesterday, a church that I was scheduled to preach for this Sunday in Alabama sent me a really, really good, decent check in the mail. I wasn't expecting to receive this much from them, but it was a real blessing. And I want to say to the people of Green Pond Baptist Church in Green Pond, Alabama, thank you so very much. Pastor Carl Hall and all of you, thank you so very much. Many of you have mailed support to our ministry. Many of you support us on a monthly basis. And again, I want to thank you for that. But for those of you who have not supported us and you really enjoy our Bible prophecy teaching for its plain sense interpretation, please prayerfully consider supporting us, whether one time or monthly, $20 a month or whatever the Lord lays on your heart. No gift too big or too small. Click the donate button. I put the PayPal button right there. Click the donate button there. And you can put whatever amount you feel the Lord is telling you to give. Or you can mail your support to Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, 55 Pleasant Street, Apartment 2, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. And again, I want to say, as they say in Hebrew, Toda Rabbah, thank you so very much. Let's get into it. As Brother John Webb would say, let's roll. Let's look at Daniel chapter 2 and verse number 35. Daniel 2:35. Is the European Union dead? If so, will it be revived? So we're going to look at Daniel chapter 2 and verse number 35. Daniel 2 and verse number 35. And you'll notice what Daniel 2 and verse 35 says. Then was the iron and clay. I want you to highlight that, iron and clay. The brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. What Daniel was saying is that one day a stone's going to come down from heaven and crush the final 10 toes of the revived Roman Empire. And then that stone will become a huge mountain. That's a reference to the millennial kingdom to fill the whole entire earth. The Davidic, theocratic millennial kingdom reign of Jesus from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. Now, some 2,700 years ago, the Jewish prophet Daniel records the dream that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had concerning his dream of a great metallic image. The image that Nebuchadnezzar saw in his dream, it concerned him, and rightfully so. And he called for his counselors, the soothsayers, the magicians, and all these other false teachers in his kingdom to come and interpret the dream of the image. They could not do so. Now, this outraged the king, and he threatened the lives of his magicians. He threatened the lives of his soothsayers. If they did not make the dream known to Nebuchadnezzar, he'd kill them. He threatened the lives of his counselors, of his soothsayers, of his magicians, as well as the Jewish captives that came over from Jerusalem and the 4 Jewish boys. These 4 Jewish boys are Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Now, the church today refers to Daniel's 3 Jewish friends by their pagan Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I don't like to call them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because that was the pagan names given to them by Nebuchadnezzar to strip them of the worship of the one true God, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. I like to refer to those 3 Jewish boys, by their godly Hebrew names: Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. He even changed Daniel's name to Belshazzar. Bel is my God. Daniel is brought in, and he interprets the dream for the king. And the news isn't great, but Nebuchadnezzar rewarded Daniel despite Daniel's refusal to take the reward, and he made Daniel the 3rd ruler in Babylon. Now, that image that Nebuchadnezzar saw, the image had a head of gold, breast and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, feet, part of iron, part of clay. The head of gold, Babylon. The breast and arms of silver, the Medo-Persian Empire. The belly and thighs of brass, the Grecian Empire under Alexander the Great. The legs of iron would be the Roman Empire. But then when we get to the 10 toes, it's the feet that is consistent of iron and clay. This would be the future revived Roman Empire. The feet of the iron and clay is interesting because both iron and clay don't mix. They don't adhere to one another. What is the material that makes the substance of cast iron? Well, cast iron is nothing more than alloy of iron that contains 2 to 4% carbon, along with varying amounts of silicon and magnesium, if I pronounce that correctly, and traces of impurities such as sulfur and phosphorus. It is made by reducing iron ore in a blast of furnace. That's what makes iron. What is the substance of clay? Clay is a finely grained natural rock or soil material. Clay deposits are mostly composed of phyllosilicate minerals containing variable amounts of water trapped in the mineral structure. Now, trying to mix those 2 components just doesn't work. Trying to mix iron and clay is like trying to mix water and oil. It's impossible. The latter-day kingdom of the revived Roman Empire will be unstable in its early beginning, but will later be solidified, a force to be reckoned with. It will be an empire to be reckoned with the final 10 toes or 10 horns, giving global authority to the beast from the sea in Revelation 13:1, the Antichrist. He will take control of a final 10-nation revived Roman Empire. 50 years after Nebuchadnezzar had his dream, Daniel sees a vision of 4 beasts. In Daniel chapter number 7, he sees animals representing world empires parallel to Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the materialistic substance, the image, also represented empires. And when we get to Daniel chapter 7, he sees a lion. Well, that's Babylon, the head of gold in Daniel 2. He sees a bear, the Medo-Persian Empire, the breast and arms of silver of Daniel 2. By the way, the bear is not the Russians. Some guy called me up and he said, brother, because I heard a pastor talking about Daniel 7, and when it talks about the bear, and he said, there, right there's the Russians. Obviously, this pastor doesn't know his eschatology. The bear would be the Medo-Persian Empire, the breast and arms of silver in Daniel 2, not the Russians. He sees a leopard. That would be the Grecian Empire, the belly and thighs of brass of Daniel chapter 2. And then Daniel sees an unidentified beast, an unidentified animal. Obviously, this would be the Roman Empire, the legs of iron in Daniel chapter number 2. But you know, Rome ceased as a world empire in the 5th century AD, around 473 AD. But it never really died. Many past world leaders have tried to revive the Roman Empire, but they all failed. Mussolini tried to revive the Roman Empire. He failed. Chaim Wilhelm of Germany tried to revive the Roman Empire. He failed. Adolf Hitler tried to revive the Roman Empire. He failed. And many like them have tried to revive Rome. They've all failed. But it wasn't until 1957 when we saw Bible prophecy unfold in its early stages. And what was born as the EEC, the European Economic Community. And in 1957, 6 nations joined the European Economic Community. I found the story recently by Gatestone Institute. They reported on a story in which they said the European Union is dead, but does not yet know it, end quote. The report said the coronavirus now has put the European Union and its comfort zone face to face with all its weakness, decadence, and cowardice. The report went on to say the new coronavirus appears to be tearing apart the fragile framework of the European Union. The EU objective was evidently supposed to be an ever closer union. But now, if the EU does not show solidarity and strength at a time of global crisis, talking about this virus, what is the EU's purpose? One person said, Europe is our future. We have no other. That was Germany's former foreign minister, Hans-Dietrich Genscher. The European Union is never actually seen as dying, he said. A German writer by the name of Hans Magnus Enzensberger called the European Union the gentle monster, predicted its demise. He said all the empires of history flourished for no more than a limited half-life before they foundered on over-expansion and internal contradictions. But you know, folks, for those who say the European Union is not a fulfillment of prophecy, look, it's being destroyed from the inside out. Bible prophecy calls for the revived Roman Empire with the 10 final nations at the helm, giving worldwide authority to the Antichrist during the 70th week of Daniel's prophecy, the 7-year period of tribulation. Bible prophecy calls for an internal instability before it's solidified. Think about this with me for a moment. Again, in 1957, 6 nations joined the EEC, the European Economic Community. It was created by the Treaty of Rome in 1957. From 6 nations, it mushroomed to 28 member nations of what is now the EU or the European Union. Now, earlier this year, in January, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, left the European Union, and it has now dropped to 27 member states. Right now, there is much turmoil. There is much instability in the European Union, as foretold by Daniel with the latter-day 10 toes consistent of iron and clay. It doesn't mix. It's stable. There is so much turmoil going on in the European Union right now. That shouldn't surprise you and I as students of Bible prophecy. The COVID-19 virus outbreak has thrown the European Union into chaos. And now more EU member states are looking to leave the European Union, like Great Britain did on January 31st, 2020, this year. Now, listen very carefully. There is talk among the other 17 member EU states about seceding from the European Union. They want to do what Great Britain did. They want their sovereignty back as a nation. Some member nations do not even use the euro monetary system. Great Britain didn't do it, and they were a member of the EU, but they never used the euro. They still use their pound. If 17 states do what they're talking about right now in the EU, and they secede from the European Union, that will drop it to how many member states? You got it. Do your math. 10. 10 European member states. It could very well go that way, folks. I can't be dogmatic, but it could very well go that way. We see in Revelation chapter 13, the rise of the beast, the Antichrist, out of the sea being symbolic of the literal Gentile nations of the world. And this beast will have 7 heads and 10 horns. A lot of symbolism here now, folks. But you got to look for a literal interpretation behind that symbolism. The 7 heads would refer to the 6 past world empires and the future 7th revived Roman Empire. I think I may have mentioned this yesterday. The 6 past world empires would be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. Rome declined as an empire, as I said already, in the 5th century AD, around 473 AD, but it will be revived with a 7th revived Roman Empire. Out of that 7th revived Roman Empire will arise 10 final nations, 10 horns. The 10 horns that were prophesied by the Jewish prophet Daniel. Daniel chapter 7, verses 7, 20, 24. 3 times he mentions 10 horns. Then 500 years later, John the Apostle in the book of Revelation, he mentions 10 horns. Revelation 12:3, Revelation 13:1, Revelation chapter 17, verses 3, 7, 12, and 16. 6 times in the book of Revelation, John the Apostle picked up where Daniel left off 500 years earlier, and he mentions 10 horns. A final 10 horn, a final 10 nation confederacy, or what I call the final 10 nation European Union confederacy. Now, it's going to be revived. It's going to rise from the dead. How do I know this? I direct your attention to Revelation chapter 13 and verse number 3. An amazing prophecy here. In Revelation 13:3, John said, "And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered or marveled at the beast." John said, "I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death." That was the decline of the 6th empire, the Roman Empire, and his deadly wound was healed. The revival of the 7th final Roman Empire. Now, you even got to be careful today watching Christian Bible prophecy movies, because some of them can really be unbiblical. Many Christian prophecy movies inaccurately interpret Revelation 13:3 as the assassination of the Antichrist and his subsequent resurrection from the dead. Nothing can be more unbiblical. The problem with that is that you find nowhere in the Bible of Satan raising anyone from the dead. Satan does not have that prerogative. He is limited in his power. Nobody is going to counterfeit the resurrection, the bodily resurrection of Jesus the Messiah from the dead. Revelation 13:3, this just simply means the final sixth world head or empire that was dead, Imperial Rome, that died in the 5th century AD, will be revived. It will rise from the dead. It will be healed with the 7th and final head, the revived Roman Empire. You listen, you must have a consistent hermeneutic in the study of Bible prophecy. If you don't have a consistent hermeneutic, you're going to get screwed up doctrinally. Your hermeneutic must be consistent. And in order to have a consistent hermeneutic, hermeneutics being the science of biblical interpretation, you must allow the Bible to interpret the Bible. Stop spiritualizing it to death to make it sound any way that you want it to sound. Stop allegorizing it. Stop eisegeting it. Eisegeting means you're putting your own thoughts and your own ideas into the text, and you are making it subjective. You must be objective when you study the Bible and Bible prophecy, for that matter. Unfortunately, that's not being practiced in the church today, which is why we have all this heresy going on in the church today among Christians, embracing every wind of doctrine that is out there. They'll get their doctrine from Christian TV, Christian radio, YouTube for that matter. I'm on YouTube, don't get me wrong, but listen, excuse me, I said this yesterday. If you're going to watch somebody on YouTube, make sure they're biblically stable. Or someone on Christian TV, make sure they're biblically sound. Christian radio, make sure they're biblically accurate. And the pickings are very slim. I'm sorry, I just got to say the pickings are very slim. You must have a consistent hermeneutic in the study of Bible prophecy. And this is not the case today among off-the-wall, sensationalist prophecy teachers today. Now, Jesus will return at tribulation's end, and the revived Roman Empire is ready to make war against him. Antichrist, false prophet, in Revelation 19:19, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him who sat on the horse and against his army. The beast, ruler of the revived Roman Empire, will gather all the nations of the world, all the military of the world, to prepare to make war against the coming of Jesus the Messiah at the end of the tribulation period. But I read the end of the book and I know who wins. Revelation 17:14 tells us, these shall make war with the Lamb, but the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him, that's us, the raptured church, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. The revived Roman Empire, ready to make war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will destroy this final 10-nation confederacy. Again, Daniel 2:35, the stone which came down from heaven crushed the image, the final 10 toes, and that stone became a great mountain. That's the millennial kingdom, to fill the whole entire earth. That's Isaiah 11:9 concerning the millennial kingdom. They shall not hurt nor destroy, and all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. That's the millennium. That's not happening right now. Jesus is not sitting on David's throne right now. We are not in the kingdom right now, as inaccurate, unbiblical prophecy teachers are teaching today. Jesus is not right now King of kings and Lord of lords. That's still future when he comes back at his second coming. Revelation 17:14 says, when he destroys the final 10-nation revived Roman Empire, he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. But in Revelation 19:16, it's going to be the reverse. Upon his vesture and upon his thigh was a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Jesus, the Messiah, will establish his theocratic Davidic kingdom from Jerusalem, with Jerusalem as earth's capital in the center of the earth, according to Ezekiel chapter 5 and verse number 5. The millennial kingdom, that's literal, that will last for 1,000 years. Revelation chapter 20, verses 2 through 7, tells us 6 times he will reign for 1,000 years. Jesus will reign as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. In closing, with the Gatestone News report of the European Union is dead, and it does not know it yet, is a page out of Bible prophecy. The internal strife and instability of the European Union was foretold in Daniel 2:33. It's not dead, but it will be revived. This signifies the rapture of the church is so very soon upon us. All I can say to that is Maranatha. Even so come, Lord Jesus. Now, I'm not sure what happened, but I'm looking at a black screen here. So I don't even know if this whole entire video played through. I'm really hoping and praying that it did. And so we'll see what happens when I upload this, if it even went through. So as I bring this broadcast to a close, remember to visit my website, todaynbibleprophecy.org. If you want more information about our prophecy tour to Israel, June 20th through the 30th, please get a hold of me. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. We've got a couple of seats still open. And if you would like to support our ministry, please do so. I put the PayPal link on the comment box there so that you can click it on and put whatever amount you feel the Lord is laying on your heart. So, again, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing myself. I'm not sure if we got kicked off of the live stream. But I do want to pronounce the Aaronic blessing upon all of you for your health. Okay, Patty says it's fine, but I'm not seeing myself here. I'm seeing a blank screen. And what I'm seeing here, it says, sorry, we're having trouble playing the video. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to continue. I'm going to split my fingers like this to pronounce the Aaronic blessing to all of you. The prayer of Aaron, the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, in Numbers chapter 6, 24 through 26. It is a prayer for you, your family, and your health, your finances. I'm going to pray it in Hebrew, and then I'll translate it into English for you. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav ilecha v'yihunecha. Yisa Adonai panav ilecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless thee, the Lord keep thee, the Lord make his face shine upon thee, and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. May the Lord give you peace, shalom, during these trying times. I hope to see all of you next Wednesday, Lord willing, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another Bible prophecy update. Have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Practice social distancing. And wear a mask if possible. Wash your hands. And we'll all get through this together. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Lord's Day come Sunday via live stream. And we'll talk to you soon. God bless, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.